So, Jayshree, what's been
Yeah.
happening?
Hi, Steve. It's such a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this latest product line that UpSquad team has come up with, which I got really, really excited about because, as you know, I have been in decision-making roles in the Rio Grande Valley for so many years, and a good chunk of that has been with UT-RGV. So I'm fully aware of the challenges that are experienced by the healthcare industry in the Valley. So when I heard about CareerSquad AI that the team is launching, I just got excited and I reached out to you to share this information with the community there. And at this point, let me just go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Jayshree Bhat. I work with UpSquad team as their workforce development advisor because of all my experience in that field. And I also serve as a business development partner for them. And I've got two of my esteemed colleagues here. Let me just go ahead and have them introduce themselves, and then we can get on with the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jayshree, and thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity. My name is Venki Mandapati. I'm the co-founder and chief technology officer at UpSquad. We got super excited when we learned about the opportunities around RGV to explore, especially in the healthcare. And today we would actually want to share about some of the advancements that we have been doing, especially to focus on healthcare workforce, which is a great need and there is a huge demand in the region. So I'll let Eric introduce himself as well.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity. Nice to meet everybody. So the official term here is RGV, right? I can say that, and I'm kind of in locally. Perfect.
We'll all
So as
understand you, Eric.
perfect, thank you. So as Vinky and Jayshree have alluded to, not only are we looking at healthcare workforce, very specifically entry level, right? We understand that once someone enters the industry, there's so many tools available from a retainment and advancement perspective. We really want to focus on those unfamiliar with healthcare, right? It's such a vast maze of information, and taking someone who's maybe in the retail business now or in the gig economy and being able to help them get into a much more stable and fruitful career path. And Steve, I'll turn it over to you here in just a moment. I wanted to try to make one clarification as we sort of talk about this. We have two concepts in mind. One we'll call CareerSquad 1.0. That's a platform that we can build in the short term, next week or next month. And then we have 2.0, which is a much more ambitious project. And so I may refer to that a little bit as we go, just so everyone understands we have two concepts that we're working on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Because there isn't that much time, I'll just fire off a few questions. I know Jayshree and I could chat for hours about over the last few years we haven't seen each other for a while, so that would be fun, but that'll have to be for another day. I'm going to race through a few questions I've got for you, and any of the three of you can take the questions. Number one, and of course, as I mentioned in the preliminary notes, we want to keep this as specific as we can to the border region. So question one, what do you think are some of the biggest healthcare workforce challenges in the Rio Grande Valley, and how can CareerSquad AI help address them?
Thank you, Steve. Let me just go ahead and take that question, since I've lived and worked in the Rio Grande Valley for so many years, and I'm well aware, acutely aware, actually, to be honest with you, about the challenges that are currently there, as well as what has been going on there as well, since my role basically involved looking at what the gap is and bridging that gap between the education and industry. So from that perspective, three main areas that I can think of that's going on, not just in the Rio Grande Valley, but it just gets a little exacerbated there because of certain situations. Workforce shortages and skills gap that exists in all different industries, but a lot more in the healthcare industry there because of the that happens to be one of the fastest growing industries there. And also limited access to training and career pathways. That is where CareerSquad AI will play really, really important role as well, because if you look at the population in the Rio Grande Valley, really relatively young population, but also lack of access in terms of what they have access to and what they're aware about the access that's available. So what CareerSquad AI will do is serve as that really personalized online concierge. If someone who is interested in getting into healthcare industry in the Valley, but they just don't know where to start. A lot of times there's questions about whether you really need a degree to be able to enter the workforce in healthcare. And that's not the case. Because as we know, a lot of these entry-level roles in healthcare really don't require an academic degree, but at the same time, they do require some training and certification. And so that's where CareerSquad AI will really help them guide. It's an online career pathway guidance that will be provided to them in the comfort of their homes, as long as they have access to the internet and a gadget that they can use for that. So at this point, I'll just let my colleagues share any thoughts that they have as well.
I think you've covered that question very, very well. So
thank you so much.
Yep.
My next question, what is the biggest misconception about entering the healthcare industry, and how can CareerSquad AI help break down any barriers that might exist?
Yeah, for sure, Steve. So we see this really in every market that we've worked with. And we really do try to look at this regionally because of the nuances that exist in particular areas. As Jayshree alluded to, the certification and training is different in different states and maybe even different counties and so forth. And so, but as it boils down, it's really in two big places. One is the education that's required, as Jayshree said, right? There are dozens of positions that only need a high school diploma or GED plus one of these shorter term certifications. So the ability to put that in very plain English to someone who's asking about their personal situation, that's a big misconception that can be corrected with a smart interface like we're suggesting. And then the second is that it's too expensive, right? And when you look at training programs, shorter term certifications, if you have to pay for them cash, they're much more affordable than certainly a 2 or 4 year degree, certainly from an ROI perspective. But the amount of grants and assistance that's available, again, on a very micro regional level, and it depends on the time of year. There's just so many options that are available, but people need to know where to look. And there's also employer paid programs, right? And so again, being able to go to a platform that understands the nuance and granularity of a particular region and telling someone, hey, in this zip code, based on your W-2 and your education, here are the options that you have to pay for this training. And so we feel like custom chat can solve that through what I call a pre-education, right? Getting someone up to speed on how to get into the field, step-by-step personalized guidance from start to finish. And we can talk a little bit more about conversion here as we go along, but from the employer's perspective and the training provider's perspective, this platform converts people into programs.
And I think just to add on top of it, Steve, one of the other misconceptions, even after getting into those entry levels, right? Sometimes people might think those careers are slow to grow into. And sometimes there are like a lot of opportunities that people might not be aware of once they get into career. So there is a different piece to it where we could actually optimize and actually easily show them the certifications, different educational programs that are offered, even while in the healthcare industry. So which is also a misconception and a gap that we have identified. So definitely, I think there are definitely opportunities pre and post.
Thank you, Venki. Next question, number 3. Many industries face workforce shortages. So what makes the healthcare industry unique when it comes to hiring entry-level workers?
Jayshree, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. So let me just take that question. So There's challenges in every industry, but what's specific to healthcare industry, like I alluded to earlier, and Venki and Eric has shared that as well, is unlike other industries in healthcare, even the entry level, especially entry level clinical roles, patient facing roles require some level of training and certification. I'll give you an example of patient care technicians, certified nursing assistants, phlebotomists, pharmacy tech, all of those roles that are primarily in the hospital settings or even other clinical settings require certification. And there's also the background check, the immunization, there's all of those things that need to be addressed as well before they're hired on those roles. And there's also the high stakes and patient safety concerns because these are many of these are patient facing, and the utmost level of professionalism has to be maintained during those interactions. And that requires some attainment of soft skills, as well, as far as bedside manners and things like that. And then there's also the long hours, different type of shifts than what's available in other industries. So collectively, this is an industry that requires entry-level job seekers to really understand, what's involved in the job on a day-to-day basis. So they need to understand what it takes to actually do 8-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, whatever it takes. And if they're constantly interfacing with patients, there's a certain level of patience that they have to acquire as well to be able to do their job best. So in that regard, customer service that is required in other industries takes on a completely different level in the healthcare industry. So that's where that major difference is between those entry-level jobs in healthcare versus other industries.
Thank you very much. And Jayshree, you probably should take this next question because you know the Valley so well. Why would you think that a chat-based platform is particularly well suited to engage the demographic we have here in the Valley in healthcare careers? Because as you know, our region, technology, access to broadband, that's not our strongest point. So your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with you that access to technology is a major issue in many, many areas in the Rio Grande Valley because I've lived there for so many years and I'm fully aware of that. But having said that, the Gen Z basically accesses internet through their smartphones, right? And so even if they happen to live in areas where there's, broadband services are not available, they're still able to access information online through their gadgets and smartphones. So this type of mobile-based technology that CareerSquad AI happens to be, it just puts information at their fingertips in terms of, a lot of times, and I've also worked with young people there for a number of years, and I'm aware that sometimes people are afraid to ask questions to another individual. So in a situation like that, if they are guided through an AI, and answer the most the most anxiety-causing questions and kind of guide them through that process of knowing what it takes to enter healthcare industry as an entry level. We're talking about entry-level jobs here, and we're also talking about the youth, 17 and 18 and above, that find themselves into these type of roles. I think that's where CareerSquad AI will really be a game changer in the Valley. And I'll let Venki and Eric add any other thoughts that they have to this as well.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. Just that, number one, the region needs more education and awareness around these positions, right? I saw a couple numbers getting close to 30,000 open positions unfilled in 2024. So number one is just the simple need for the platform is why it would work well, in addition to the demographic lending itself well to a personalized, mobile-friendly solution that can answer virtually any question that a really good career counselor could answer.
And most importantly, technology has been changing. I mean, especially in the past 4 or 5 years. I mean, we have seen how technology has been instrumental in changing the way we do things. I think that's the most important key factor. Rio Grande Valley, of course, like has so much potential, and sometimes we look at how could we deploy these new generational technology solutions to be able to provide those kind of workforce opportunities, which could actually scale, which is the need of the hour.
Yeah.
Thank you. My next question, can one of you walk us through how a resident, someone that perhaps is unfamiliar with the healthcare industry, would use CareerSquad AI to explore job opportunities and get started in a healthcare career?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. So I'll take this one, and I understand the phrasing of the question. It's really about getting someone into that certification program, right? The job will come with the certification, right? It's almost like they're ready to get you working before you're even certified. But in terms of how that process looks, number one is the accessibility part, right? We talked about it just a moment ago. Any device with any kind of signal can fully use the platform, okay? And then you start a conversation, just like any of us would with a GPT or any other platform. You're asking a personalized question. You're not embarrassed. You're not concerned about asking a dumb question, because it's just a platform that's going to give you the best possible answer. So, but what it does from a functionality standpoint, immediately it takes these dozens of positions that are possible and it narrows it down. We have a very short quiz, right? You're interacting with the platform. Hey, do you like X? What do you think about Y? And all of a sudden, you've gotten down to 3 categories, right? Direct patient care, maybe it's healthcare and technology, or maybe you're better for the back office admin piece. So all of a sudden, within a few minutes, I've got these 3 categories, and now here's 2 or 3 jobs that are high demand in your area that you could be working for pretty quickly. So then you want to educate, right? And we use video. There's the ability to put TikTok style videos in there, see people your age doing these jobs, right? Daily duties. This is what this job is all about. Here's how much money you're going to make. And so now I know what this job is all about. And now what's necessary, right? Here's the training. Here's the certification, places right? Here's South Texas College or XYZ program right down the street from you. And then how do I pay for it? Right. So again, all of a sudden within 10 minutes, I've got a really good idea on what position is going to work for me. How am I going to pay for it? And then ultimately getting that tuition assistance or grant information, all of that can be done right there. And then finally, being able to submit an inquiry or submit a registration, all of that can happen right inside that platform. The person doesn't have to go anywhere else to generate a substantial next step, right? And then this applies to the healthcare systems, the training providers. This is a lead generation tool, right? You now have someone who is legitimately interested. If they didn't finish the process, you have their email address, you have their phone number, and so we can follow up and finish that process. So hopefully that kind of paints the picture on someone can go from 0 to almost 100% in 10 minutes or so.
Thank you for that. My next question is really asking whether you have or need any partners in the project. So what are your ideal partners? Who are your ideal partners to launch a customized version of CareerSquad AI here in the Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, I think I'll kind of elaborate on this question on the type of partners that we are looking for. I think, as Eric has mentioned before, we have a couple of different products that we have been already experimenting with a lot of different customers that we already have. Especially in Rio Grande Valley, we are looking for 3 different types of partners, right? Of course, we'll start off with the workforce and training providers, right? I think those are the ones that already had a lot of participants who are going through this program. So that would be our first step in order to partner with workforce organizations, even government agencies that are doing a lot of workforce programs and training programs. So that is one type of customer that we are trying to partner with, Steve. And then, of course, the number 2 is going to be the universities and colleges. A lot of these certifications that we have been talking about in this call earlier, some of them are already available through universities, training providers. several colleges in Rio Grande Valley. Sometimes we just have to showcase it in such a way that it's very seamless for the residents in order to access those kinds of training. So we would definitely be looking to connect with those kind of universities and colleges that offer those specific healthcare entry-level certifications and training programs. And the third, number three, is the healthcare systems. Those are the most important. Once we get a pool of candidates who are specifically trained on these entry level, whether it's certified nursing assistants, medical assistants, phlebotomy, that Jayshree kind of talked about, different kinds of roles, we would then make it very easy and efficient for the healthcare partners who are looking for talent to create that talent pipeline. I think those are the three types of potential partnerships that we are looking for, especially in RGV. And of course, I would give to Jayshree or Eric to kind of expand in case if they want to talk more about these partners.
Yeah, you've touched them, and I think I'll probably end up mentioning a little bit more about each in a few minutes. So I think that covers it. The real answer is any stakeholders who are interested in growing healthcare in the region should support this type of initiative, because at the end of the day, they need them. Tens of thousands needed in the area, so we all have to work together.
Well,
yeah, I'm just gonna add something more to that. They talked about different type of stakeholders. I have been part of workforce development boards as well there, and I've worked closely with them. This could be a great thing for the workforce development boards to support in that region as well, because they take the responsibility for making sure that the workforce is developed based on the current and future trends in the market as well. So this would be great for workforce development boards to look into as well.
Good. Well, we're going to follow this with great interest. So yeah, please keep us in the loop if you can develop these partnerships. Next question. Where do you see the future of entry-level healthcare workforce development going? And how can technology play a larger role in solving any challenges that exist?
So I'm going to start off by, sharing my thoughts on this, Steve. The future of entry-level healthcare workforce development will be shaped by technology-driven solutions. An example would be CareerSquad AI, competency-based training, which is becoming more and more prevalent in higher education institutions these days, and workforce-aligned education. I can't stress that enough, because this is not just related to what's happening in the RGV. I know that UT-RGV and other institutions in the area are working really, really hard to develop more and more professional degree programs, workforce-aligned programs, and things like that. But there's so much more to be done in that as well. So that is where the future is headed, especially with the rapidly changing technology. And from one day to the other, we keep hearing about medical technology that's used every day, and there's upskilling that's necessary. So that's where the future is headed when it comes to entry-level healthcare workforce, because they have to adapt as well to the changing needs. And when technology and AI becomes such an important triggers as well as drivers in how healthcare is delivered, technology becomes extremely important as well. So yeah, that's my thought at this point.
Absolutely. And the only thing I'll add on to that is the scalability piece, right? And if you really just break this down into what this does for residents, right? If this platform is built correctly, which we certainly can make that happen, is that it gives hundreds or thousands of people the experience of sitting down with a seasoned career counselor who knows the market, right? Like, hey, this is exactly what you need to do in order to get to this next step. And we all know just the time of the career teams at these, it's extremely limited. Some folks' ability to get to that office and just getting people on the phone these days, right? We know career counseling has a place, but for those that can't access that physical person, this is the absolute next best thing that's going to say, here's what you do.
And I totally agree with what Eric just said, that the future of healthcare in general, healthcare workforce development, is about removing barriers, about making training more accessible. Those are all the future of, and also using technology to connect workers to the right opportunities, not just when they start off with their career, as well as, it's all throughout their career pathway as well. So that's where I feel any type of tool or technology that has the AI built into it that'll help them move in that trajectory would be extremely helpful in the healthcare industry.
Thank you. I've just got one more question for you. What are you looking for in order to scale your efforts in filling the high demand entry-level healthcare workforce that we desperately need, as you pointed out earlier, in this region?
That's a loaded question, Steve. I don't know where you came up with that one, but that one's tough to answer for sure. I would break this down, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call. We have these two solutions, right? We have a version that any organization in the RGV could start using immediately, right? Whether it's the healthcare system, the workforce board, the training provider, a tangible tool. So what we need and want is interest, right? Interest in wanting to help educate those outside of healthcare on the many, many opportunities that exist within healthcare. So that's for our existing product. We need eyeballs and ears to hear our message and to reach out and let us show you how it works, right? And then as we look at the 2.0 version, that's the more ambitious version. And that really requires, from a regional perspective, partnerships, collaboration, and of course, investment, right? And as we look at each of the stakeholders, right, I'll just kind of touch on those briefly, right? So if you start with the healthcare systems, right, they're integral. Everyone's integral in what I'm about to describe, but they're particularly integral because they're the beneficiary of this at the end of the day, right? If there's a great tool created and it makes more entry-level healthcare people, well, then great, HCA should be thrilled at that prospect, right? And then we also need to ensure that what the healthcare systems are seeing from a demand perspective, right? Here's the 7 to 12 entry-level roles that we know are growing at X%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says support roles are growing at 15.2% on average, which means that some of those roles are growing at 25%, right? And so they're specific to the Rio Grande Valley. What jobs do you need us to push on CareerSquad so that you have the people you need to fill those positions? And then the training providers, obviously having their partnership, their collaboration in terms of being sure that we're creating the best match for the programs that they offer. So it's all a big circle there. And then lastly, the workforce boards, right? As Jayshree mentioned, and I couldn't agree more, it's their job to promote these positions and get the awareness piece out. And I'm sure they would be interested in the data sharing element. We're going to aggregate a lot of great data on trends and what potential candidates are interested in and why, in terms of salary ranges and what's driving the end users. All of that data would be extremely beneficial to everyone, especially the workforce boards. And then the last point here is the investment side, right? So we're working with the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Health. We know there's some challenges going on in that world at the moment. We're hopeful that we'll be able to get the funding we need, but we're looking for partners who are interested in creating a better healthcare world in RGV. So if there's partners that want to see this come to fruition, we'd love to have that conversation with them so that they can be at the tip of the spear as this gets to where it needs to go.
I want to tag along to what Eric just said. Having been part of RGV for so long, Steve, I am fully aware of the work that's going on there. And RGV happens to be one of the most, apart from being one of the fastest growing areas in the country, it also happens to be filled with stakeholders, whether it's, healthcare, higher education, all of the stakeholders I can't imagine another region that works as closely as people do with that utmost altruistic, reason behind what they do to serve the community there. And I couldn't think of any other region that's better than RGV to introduce this product and then also put this in the hands of people who are capable of making a difference there for the community. And whether it's at the regional level, state level, whatever it is, this type of product or tool that has the AI embedded capabilities can just, it can be a game changer, like I said before. So I would love to hear from people that have increased interest in this after they watch this interview or read the article that you're going to put together. And then reach out to us so that we can continue this conversation. This is just the beginning of that conversation, or should I say we're adding to the conversation about workforce development that's been happening in the RGV for all these years. And they've made some great strides in that as well. Yes.
Thank you.
2 minutes left.
Yeah, we've just got a couple of minutes left. So if anyone wants to give any closing remarks, we've got a little bit of time there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mentioned the growth rate of these entry-level jobs, right? And which is good for the country. We've got more population, there's growth, and we need more people working in healthcare. The sort of flip side of that coin is another number, which is 59%. And that is the percentage of entry-level turnover within the first year, right? In other words, almost 60% of people don't come back to that initial job that they started in healthcare. Now, there's a bunch of reasons for that. There's the pay issue, there's the challenging and grueling work, but there's also the fact that they're not matched well to that position, right? And so a tool like ours can really get someone with the understanding of, are you sure that this is the best position for you? There's these positions that may fit your personality better. And again, those are the people that probably didn't get the time with the career counselor, right? Somebody said, hey, this is the position, they're hiring, you should do it. And all of a sudden they're going down this road, and it's not good for the healthcare systems. It's not good for anyone, right? So that's just the number that really sticks out to us in terms of that end user that can benefit.
Well, thank you for that, Eric. Venki, Jayshree, we got like 30 seconds left. Anything you want to add?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I think
something.
I think it's all about collaboration at the end of the day, Steve. For something like this to take shape in a region like Rio Grande Valley, I think it's a lot of different stakeholders needs to come together in order to make this happen, because we know what the challenges are. I think we have a solution that could help enable as a potential opportunity to collaborate with these kind of partners that we talked about. So I'll leave with that, and thanks again for the opportunity.